identify yourself and let us know.
Matt Crehan from Occupy Muskegon. Your neighboring township in Muskegon County, Ravenna, has a proposal that before them that they might let something called horizontal fracking occur. Now, vertical fracking is where you just go ahead and shoot the drill right straight down, get the oil up out of the ground. Everybody's familiar with that. Usually doesn't cause too many problems. But horizontal fracking is where they go straight down, then they go on an L shape, and they really go ahead and botch up the earth so bad they have to put all sorts of explosive chemicals in it, and the way they get everything to get all screwed up beyond belief, you're going to wake up one morning and you're going to wonder why when you turn on your water it's brown, or when you turn on your water it's brown, and when you light a match under it, it actually explodes with methane gas in it. It will poison your water supply. The other thing hydraulic or horizontal fracking does is when they go ahead and have to shoot all those chemicals down in there to get the effect they want, they use thousands upon thousands upon thousands of gallons of water to do it. So it's guaranteed that your water level around here is all going to go down. Just because it's in Ravenna, you're close enough to it. This whole area here is something that if one township does something, if something happens in one section of land, it's going to reverberate across the whole area. So it's a serious problem. It's something we felt important enough to come out here from Muskegon to tell you about, along with tonight Cazenovia Township and Cazenovia Village. Been to Eggleston Township and all the eastern municipalities in Muskegon County. It's something you have to be concerned with. It's really dangerous. There's enough people statewide that have finally woken up and said, look, now we realize what's been going on the last few years with the state. These oil companies have come in here in the heat in nighttime, under the table, around the corner, and they get all this legislation passed to where when I spoke with a township attorney on it, they said, you know, there's not a lot you can do about it until they've already trashed your area. And I said, wait a minute, there's got to be something you can do about it. And he said, well, you can kind of regulate the weight of the trucks that are operating on your roads. So there's certain things you can do to prevent it. They're small things. But if a big truck can't come down the road with its equipment materials to get to the fracking site, there's not going to be any horizontal fracking there. So that's one of the things that can be done. It's a small thing, but it's important. It's something where, you know, I don't know if you help out Ravenna Fire Department, but if they get fracking over there, you can plan on doing it quite a bit, because if they have an explosion, one little volunteer fire department out there is not going to be able to take care of the whole thing. It's going to be a major catastrophe. So fortunately, there's a farmer out in Ravenna by the name of Ed Schultz, and he got 35 signatures together on a petition. And on Wednesday, May 29th at 7 p.m. at the Ravenna Township Fire Barn, there's going to be a meeting on this, informational meeting on it. And would like to have as many people from the adjoining areas and townships come to that meeting so they can hear firsthand exactly how bad fracking is. It's something, and again, horizontal fracking is what I'm really talking about. It's not just the regular oil drilling. I don't see any serious problem with that. When they're doing what they do with this, it's such a disaster, it can cause such a calamity to the environment that you're going to look out here and instead of seeing all this stuff green, it's all going to be brown because there's not going to be enough water to water it. The farmers in the area aren't going to be able to farm because they're not going to get the water to farm with. And they give you this bill of goods that for the first few years, everybody's going to be making all this money. Okay, yeah, a lot of people are going to make big money out of it. Most of them are out of state. The local guy will make some big money, but all of a sudden, once the fracking people leave, well, what's left? It's like strip mining. You go ahead, you come into the town, you trash the whole thing, you put a lot of money in your pocket, you leave, and once you're gone, what's the town got to show for it? Nothing. And this is what used to happen I'm thinking on Lake Erie many years ago. And I'm thinking of things like Hooker Chemical in Montague Whitehall area, Odd Story Chemical in Dalton Township in Muskegon. They sold the people this bill of goods. We're coming in with these chemical companies. We're going to give you all these high-paying jobs. And then by the time they get done, what they've done to the property out there and the property values, it's kind of like, you know, we really wish you guys had never come in here. If you've ever been up to White River Township, they still have monitoring wells where Hooker Chemical used to be. And that's what's going to happen with this fracking. So it's really something that we've got enough of a heads up on it. There's enough people that are taking the initiative right now to say, okay, thanks but no thanks, guys. Go do this somewhere else. We don't want it in Michigan. So we thought, that's what I'm here for tonight, and appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, and my friend's going to give it his little pitch on it, which is a little bit different than mine. So thank you.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, this stuff really does happen. Of course, in East Muskegon, I'm thinking about the Burgess Norton. Burgess Norton was a company right there on Getty Avenue, and people are just now discovering that their properties are valueless. They can't sell their homes and can't insure them either because the groundwater is so contaminated. And then in Dalton Township, this stuff happens all over the place. Now, the scary thing with this hydraulic fracking, I've just found out about this recently, last month or so. I've been to some meetings. The DEQ was in town here in Muskegon just last week, I think, or maybe 2 weeks ago. But this thing that makes this thing really scary is not just the destruction that's happened like in Pennsylvania and South Dakota, and which is soon to happen here, like what Matt was talking about. This stuff really happens. But what the oil industry's been able to do with their lobbying efforts, there's a thing called the Halliburton loophole. And it's easy to remember Halliburton because we've heard that name so many times recently. The Halliburton loophole, this was something that was passed on the federal level when Cheney was in office and when Bush was in office. And what this does, this Halliburton loophole, it's easy to look up too on Google, just Halliburton loophole, and you'll find a New York Times article on it and some other things to verify this. It exempts the oil industry, the fracking industry, from the Clean Water Act. It exempts them from the Great Lakes Compact, for instance. Now, the Great Lakes Compact is something that protects our water resources. Canada and the states around the Great Lakes have agreed to protect the water resources. And so people can't come in, for instance, and mine the water and bottle it in mass quantities. And you know what happens when that has happened. People have come in and taken a bunch of water out of the system, and then people's wells dry up and stuff like that. So there are regulations and stuff in place to protect our water resources, but this Halliburton loophole exempts the fracking industry from that. And so they're able to take as much water as they need to. Now, Matt said thousands. It's actually millions of gallons of water with each of these wells. And so this water is taken out, it's mixed with toxic chemicals. And again, the fracking industry does not have to disclose what's in there. And so they'll pipe this toxic stuff underground, underneath our property, and then they'll go ahead and fracture the rock. And that water is gone forever. It's out of the system. It can't be used again. And another thing that the DEQ will say proudly, that they regulate what chemicals can be injected in the ground like that. The fact is, and they came out and admitted this at the meeting here just this last week or so, there's some videotape online, they don't verify what chemicals are going underground. They have no means to test the chemicals. And so what they'll do is they'll say, we're regulating the industry. We tell them they can't use these chemicals. On the other hand, if the industries decide, well, what we have here is trade secrets. This is chemicals that are trade secrets. We can't let you know. They don't need to disclose at all what's going underground. And so the Halliburton loophole exempts the fracking industry from notifying you if there's a spill. It exempts them from notifying you if they're fracking on your neighbor's land, if they have a fire. All of these things that you think we have in place to protect us from these horrible things that happen with industries, the fracking industry successfully lobbied and gotten themselves exempt from all of those regulations. Now, the fracking industry will be proud, and so will the big business-owned media will be proud to tell you that the fracking industry is safe. They've been doing this for a long time without accidents. But again, it's all a wordplay. They define the fracking itself as just injecting, and they say, try to pin that on this procedure, any kind of problems with the environment. But the fact is that they're totally unregulated, and so they're free to allow the wells to leak around the wellhead. They say that's not a fracking accident. They're free to go ahead and have a fire with chemicals and toxic things being released into the environment. They say that's not a fracking accident. That wasn't fracking. They'll have spills, chemical spills. It's like a third world country, the way this has happened in Pennsylvania and the way it's going to happen here. It's the same sort of thing. It's just beginning. They have a well just east of Silver Lake now, and they have another one proposed right between Silver Lake and Lake Michigan. This is one of those horizontal ones. And they have one planned here in Ravenna now, and that one is actually being planned in what's called a DEQ wellhead protected area, meaning that the whole community depends on well water. And so the DEQ, for our protection, has designated that as a protected area. It makes no difference. The DEQ says that doesn't matter, that they're exempt from that, and there is no regulation. There's no way that the communities can regulate the fracking industry. You can't do it on a county level, can't do it on a township level. The only hope we have is on the state level, and that's what we're doing We're spreading the news. I have some information here that I could leave with you where you can maybe look up some of this stuff after I leave. We also have a petition that we're signing. If we can gather 300 and some thousand signatures before the fall, we can get this proposal on the ballot. And so that's what we're trying to do tonight. If you do want to sign it, that's great. If you do sign it, please remember that you signed it, because you don't want to sign it more than once, because then that gets the thing thrown out. But that's, as I understand it, pretty much the only chance we have to regulate the fracking industry in Michigan, is to do it on a state level and to do it from a grassroots level. We can't expect the politicians to help us. You know how much big money is in politics these days, and there's no bigger money than the oil industry. And like I say, we used to be able to rely on our news sources, the media. Well, right now, the Chronicle, I remember, used to have competition even inside the reporters would compete. There's no reporters anymore. MLive is owned by Advanced Publications. There's two board members, and they're both brothers. They live out on the East Coast, and they own all the newspapers. There's so many news sources they own. It isn't news anymore. It's just marketing tool and promote big business. And so that's how we rely on our news. And so that's why we're here. We're here to ask you, your civic leaders, people look to you, and you're well connected. And so that's why we're here, just to help spread the word. Our civic duty, we see, isn't so much just showing up every 4 years and throwing a lever at the poll. Now we really have to work to find the truth, and then educate ourselves, and then take action on what we've learned. And so really appreciate it. We've been a couple of places tonight. Thanks for letting us in the door so late. And like I said, if anybody would like to sign, we have petitions here tonight. Thanks.
Thank you.